when I was watching these tweets and these videos roll across my X feed, I started to feel sick. It was like I actually started to feel sick over what I was seeing about Charlie in particular. Sadly, I'm becoming somewhat immune to what I see about Trump because it's so ubiquitous. But I mean, the Charlie thing is still acute. It's still new, and the inhumanity is almost too much to bear.
I mean, while you were going through that amazing compilation of moments, I was thinking back to the Tea Party years, which you covered, Megyn. We all remember. If there was one sign at a happy, joyful, albeit angry Tea Party rally, but if there was one sign that said something bad, if there was one person who was in a t-shirt who said something bad, like the woman who, by the way, in that No Cap on God video was in an SEIU t-shirt. As I was watching that, I noticed she was in an SEIU t-shirt. So you have that. If one person had a booth at a rally, so the Denver Communist booth that you just talked about, if one person had a booth, these are many, many examples all put together. But if one of those happened at a major Tea Party rally or now at a Trump rally, that would be the narrative in the legacy media for days. That would be the, quote, first draft of history that is written about the event, that it was extreme, that it was radical, that it was flirting with violence. That would be the narrative. And this double standard is so dangerous. It pours first of all, it's wrong. And second of all, it pours gasoline on the fire of people's cultural anger and frustration. Because to the question that you ended on is like, what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to deal with people who say that Charlie Kirk is like Hitler, that Charlie Kirk is like Hitler? Part of that is the high stakes of the media's bad coverage. They covered him like he was a sort of obvious racist, that there wasn't really a debate about whether Charlie Kirk was a racist. It was just clear to them that Charlie Kirk was a racist. That's the stakes of the bad media coverage, is that people think that they're out there celebrating the assassination of a Hitler-like figure. The same thing goes for Stephen Miller. So we know what would have happened if this had been a center-right movement and protest. It would have been disqualified immediately and written into the history books as extreme and violent.
There was one woman who showed up with a sign that had a picture of a Nazi helmet, with like the swastika on it. Yeah, here it is. The MAGA hat right next to that, a Ku Klux Klan white hood next to that, and then a Confederate flag on a baseball cap. And it reads, same shit, different hat. So that's her view. MAGA, all right-wingers are just the same as white hood wearing Nazis who I guess are from the South during the Jim Crow era. And here's another one, SOT7 here, as Charlie Kirk supporter Nathan Hughes gets screamed at by female protesters.
With a shirt that says "For Charlie."
Because I advocate for free speech, and I
okay, do you have free speech? Wear a shirt that says free speech. Wear a shirt that says promote free debate. Free press.
Well, you get triggered because it has Charlie on there, right?
Because he was a racist. Because he was a misogynist, and that means that you are too. Because you support him. Get out! Get out of here!
He hated people.
Yeah, just
he hated anyone that wasn't white, that wasn't male, that wasn't straight.
Like, to my point, how do you deal with that, Emily? How this is why the right is making these people famous, trying to get their names and where they work. Because what we're finding out in an inordinate amount of the cases is the people saying that stuff are like healthcare workers or teachers. And I think many of us are like, how am I supposed to go in and get emergency care from, let's say, I don't know that this is a nurse, but it has been in the past, a nurse or a doctor who feels that way about Charlie and right-wingers or anybody who supports Charlie, or send my child into a classroom with a teacher who feels that way.
I mean, in the video, the man in the For Charlie shirt just laughed in her face and did so in a way that I would have been impossible to contain that laughter. So he did it in a way that I felt was actually a pretty appropriate response because it would be easy to scream
in the
and
moment.
shout back at her. Right. Yeah, in the moment. But in the long term, this is like an incredible danger. And the only thing that gives me solace right now is thinking of how the tide has turned on DEI, critical race theory, trans issues, where you couldn't even talk. I mean, you couldn't say anything politically incorrect without getting fired. And by the way, oftentimes it was just true and factual, and you could say it as somebody on the left and perfectly respectfully 5 years ago. And the only thing that gives me solace is that it's slightly better now, but I don't think that's gone for good. I think we'll probably see a rise of those tensions again. So I mean, people just need to be prepared for this type of rancor on our streets, because our best bet is debate. And as you were saying, Megyn, the democratic process, beating people at the polls and beating them in arguments over and over again. But with someone like that, there's only so much you can do. Persuasion is really not going to change her mind. Just you have to prevent people from turning into extremities or extreme measures and violence. And hopefully, I mean, like that's what we have. I mean, we're just at a place where a lot of people just cannot be convinced.
That woman with red hair screaming, for the listening audience, that was the second one, saying he was a racist and misogynist and you support him, so you are too. She looked to me about 20, I guess. I don't know. I'm taking a shot. That's the 20-year-old version of the kid who is beating the effigy of Donald Trump and stabbing the effigy of Donald Trump. Like that's where it's going for him. And it's not just the parents. Let's face it. If you are not actively counter-programming what your school is doing to your child, the odds are you're going to wind up with a child just like this. You know, the vast majority of schools in America are doing this kind of thing to the children. This boy would get celebrated for his fake stabbing of Donald Trump at a lot of these schools. He's going to get props for it. They're going to all agree with that redheaded lunatic screaming at the Charlie Kirk supporter that she was right on. You know, you're complicit, quote unquote. So there's a whole system that believes this way. I want to also show you this. One of the things that was written on the bullet casing, one of them that was in the gun of the suspect in the Charlie Kirk assassination, Tyler Robinson, was the words Bella Ciao, which is a reference to an anti-fascist Italian song. And this is another piece that we heard over the weekend, posted online by Sean Hendricks, SOT 6. It's a fair amount of people who knew the song, and of course knew the reference because it's been everywhere. They didn't all just know this anti-fascist song 6 months ago. Bull. We've been watching these protests. We watched a protest in June. You know, the same No Kings thing. Didn't hear that song. But now that it's been written on an assassin's bullet casing, they want to celebrate it. Yeah, that's the thing, Emily. It's like generally on the show, we don't cover just like the random nutcase, because you could do that and misrepresent anybody. You know, like our side of reason has its nutcases too. So I generally, really genuinely try not to do that. This is everywhere. We've been dealing it now since Charlie was murdered on September 10th. I mean, here we are, October 20th. And it's still going. In fact, they're leaning in. It's getting louder. Like, not just, I hated him, or what that woman said, he was a misogynist and you must be too, but like singing the messages of his assassin, wearing the costume of his assassin. You know, it is a celebration, a glorification of the murder, which is how you get more murders just like it.
And Donald Trump, by the way, was shot in the head. Not by the way, I mean, it's perfectly relevant here. Donald Trump was already shot in the head. There's just no reason that any person should be out there with an effigy and having a kid stabbing the effigy without others at the protest. And I've seen this covering protests before. Others at the protest pulling you back and saying, cut it out. This is not going to, this is going to disqualify all of the people that are here patriotically and peacefully, etc. But it seems like this was all over the country and is not exactly nitpicking when you look at some of the polling about where people are on political violence. Like, this is obviously reflective of some deep sickness in our body politic, and particularly one that the left is under the microscope for, rightfully so, right now. That seems entirely appropriate right now after you have what happened to Charlie. And I remember, Megyn, you did this segment a couple of weeks ago going through the insanities in what people were saying about Charlie Kirk being racist, like all of the claims, just taking them one by one by one. And I remember on social media going back and forth with people who were making these blanket statements that, like, objectively, Charlie Kirk racist, Charlie Kirk hateful, etc. And everything crumbles when you take it apart and you realize that he's talking about points that have been made by Thomas Sowell and Jason Riley, as you point out, over many, many years. But that lands flat with so many people now because it's they just have this worldview that is impenetrable to reason, and that is so dangerous. That's why they want to shut people down as Nazis. That's why they want to shut people down as Hitler, because they're at a point beyond being persuaded. Hopefully, not everyone, but it's hard to look at somebody like that and say, yes, now they are going to. We can hit them with all of this reason and logic and say this argument looks like this. This is why you're wrong. It doesn't matter. I mean, that's just the place that we're at with a big chunk of the country, and it's really, really dangerous.
Buy gold and get free silver. That's right. For every $5,000 purchase from Birch Gold Group this month in advance of Veterans Day, they will send you a free patriotic silver round that commemorates the Gadsden and American flags. Look, gold is up over 40% since the beginning of this year, and Birch Gold can help you own it by converting an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Plus, they will send you free silver honoring our veterans on qualifying purchases. And if you're current or former military, Birch Gold has a special offer just for you. They are waiving custodial fees for the first year on investments of any amount. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, consider diversifying your savings into gold. Text MK to the number 989898 for a free info kit and to claim your eligibility for free silver with qualifying purchase before the end of the month. Again, text MK to 989898. Message and data rates may apply. Text MK to 989898 now. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.